are in the second to the last of our series of Walk It Like I Talk It. And so again, I ask you to pay attention and consider as we go through this talk, which of the four chairs, are you in? Chair number 1, don't knows. Chair number 2, the nominal Christian. Chair number 3, the immature Christian. And chair number 4, the authentic Christian. And just consider it. And also understanding, especially as Leilani mentioned, just because you're in one chair doesn't mean you don't drift to the other ones. And again, it's not bad to be in any one of the chairs. It's just knowing where you're at and where you need to go next. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt Gluth as he shares about Christian action.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is a flashlight. Not any flashlight. This flashlight needs your input. As loving Christians, we resemble this flashlight. We are the energy source for this flashlight. It is useless, as you can see, there's no light, unless someone intentionally puts energy into it. When shaken, energy is created, charges the circuit to create light. This flashlight, when properly used, will illuminate all that is around it. Christians whose love has been energized by God's grace and nurtured through grace, study, and prayer, are now ready to shine, not for people to look at, but for people to see who they can become. God's grace energizes Christians to love. Study and prayer are the magnetic coil in this device to create light. We need to shake out of our old ways. We need to be intentional about Christian action so people will have the light of God to see who they can become. My name is Matt Gluth. Today we're going to talk about Christian action. Living as a Christian witness, we know about receiving the gift, the relationship with God, the relationship God offers to each and every one of us. We know we need to nurture that gift and grow in God's love. I want to talk to you today about God's gift, or the gift of God's love to others. When we give our life to Christ, we die with Him. From that, we rise up and grow with Him. From there, we prepare to go forth, shake off our old ways, and begin to share Christ's love. The tripod Greg talked about a few weeks ago supports our life in grace. The first two legs are prayer and study. This message is the third leg, which is action. In prayer, we offer our hearts to God. In study, we offer our minds to God. And in action, we offer our bodies, our hands and feet, to God to serve Him. The tripod represents what we must do. We must talk to Him, study His Word, and do His work here on earth. So what is Christian action? Christian action is going forth with Christ into all the places of our daily lives to show the love of Christ. It is being a friend. It's being a Christian friend. God, through Christ, changed us from enemies into His friends and gave us the task of making others His friends. That's 2 Corinthians 5:18. The Bible verses I'm going to talk about are on the handout that you have. So you don't really need to write them down, but if one speaks to you, circle it and read it again later. See how it speaks to you then. It's also reflecting God's friendship and the quality of our relationships with others. It is reaching out to those who feel friendless. It's making a friend, being a friend, and bringing a friend to Christ. In Luke 10:29-37, it says to be a good neighbor. Be like the Good Samaritan. We are to treat everyone as a child of God, equal in God's sight. We are to go out of our way, if necessary, to give someone a hand and show God's love. It is putting ourselves in another place, do to others as we would have done unto us, as talked about in Luke 6:31. It is letting Christ act through us to reach out and touch people with our words and action. Christ-like action is Christ in action through us. Christian action action is passing on to others the gift of love we have received. In doing so, we help others to share in his love and to grow and to become the light. There has been a time in every one of our lives that the bright light would have been good. I'm not saying just in a dark night, in a crawl space, maybe in a cave somewhere on vacation. I'm talking about the time when you had no one to turn to and there seemed to be no hope. What does that look like? Did someone shake up the courage to talk to you because they could tell something was wrong? Maybe you shook up the courage to talk to someone else. It could be you just need shooken up because you were too comfortable in a wrong situation. We are to be the light, to see and call forth God's best in each person. We are called to live our lives in such a way that others will know they were born to shine, not just exist. Shown by our light, be a light in the darkness. Remember, you are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others and people, so people may know Christ and have the joy of a real relationship with God. So I want to read 1 Corinthians 3, 6 through 9. My job is to plant the seed that in your hearts. The Apollos watered it, but it was God, not we, who made it grow. The ones who do the planting or watering aren't important. But God is important because he is the one who makes the seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work as a team with the same purpose. Yet they will be rewarded individually according to their own hard work. We work together as partners who belong to God. You are God's field, God's building, not ours. So sometimes God uses us to plant a seed. Someone else may actually bring that person to Christ, but God is the one that saves them. That verse reminds me of a time when I had a feeling someone was having a bad day. They just didn't seem like themselves. My initial reaction was to pray for them and to have them help them get the help that they needed. I did that. And a short while later, I heard a nudge saying, "That's not enough." All right. I remember thinking, no, I don't know what to say. What if they need to talk? I feel obligated to help. I'm not really a talker, those that know me. But I keep the nudge, so I finally shook off my old ways. I decided to confront them. After talking with them for a while, I realized they just needed a friend in the moment. Talked about a lot of things. We talked about work, kids, God, family, home life. We talked about when God has a plan, it will be executed in his time. After the conversation, the person appeared to feel better. I also find myself lifted up as well. I felt happier after talking about how my life was impacted by God and his timing. But being a friend can lift spirits. We've all heard the saying, "A smile is contagious," right? Unfortunately, a short while after that conversation with one of my employees, I had to terminate their employment. Fast forward about a year, the employee I had not spoken to shows up at work in the lobby, wants to talk to me. I had the receptionist direct them to HR because I kind of figured they wanted their job back. It's happened before. She called me back a few minutes later and says, "They only want to talk to me." I tell her I'm in the middle of something, I can't talk right now. She called me immediately back and says, "They'll wait." At this point, I realized I need to shake out of my daily routine. Go talk to this person. A conversation that I was confident was them wanting their job back. I did stall for a while, like the salesman shows up unannounced. I'll see how much they really want to talk to me. Well, God showed me how much of a jerk I could be. The person just wanted to thank me for the conversation that we had had. They wanted to apologize for their behavior from the termination, or that led up to their termination, and to let me know that they've been to the banquet, they've been baptized, and they're working to turn their life around for Christ and their 2 daughters. At that moment, all those things that I just talked about, explaining how I was avoiding the conversation, didn't want to talk to them at all, ran back through my head. They just wanted to say thank you. And all I wanted to do was avoid them. In this situation from the beginning, God knew that I didn't want to have the first conversation because it just wasn't in my comfort zone. God knew the conversation would plant a seed that someone else would harvest. He also knew that I would do all I could to keep from talking to a person that I terminated. But if I had followed his lead, I would see his plan. I'm not telling you this story to say, look what I did. I'm telling you the story so you can see how hard I tried not to be his hands and feet. God showed me the errors of my ways and helped me shake off my old ways and show me how I can be a light when I do. We can also learn about Christian action by remembering the actions of those who have influenced us and helped us grow. Ask yourself, who has been influential in helping you recognize God's love? What can you learn from them? As I read those questions, all I could think of was that day and how it could have been so much different if I had stuck to my old ways and kept walking. When I knew there's something wrong and I kept my light under a bushel. You must have the light of God's love shining in your heart. God said to his disciples, you are the light of the world in Matthew 5:14. Through prayer, God guides us closer to him. Through study, God aims our light so we can see God's will and the ways we can serve. Through action, you turn on God's light to those around you. You can't be the light of the world if your flashlight is weak. Are you willing to shake it? If so, how hard? If not, why not? That action is your relationship with Christ. Christian action flows from Christ through you. Let me say that again. That action, which is your relationship with Christ, Christian action that flows from Christ through you. You have to want others to know Christ's love in their lives. Think about your friends. Are you going to keep Christ's love to yourself or share it? Ask Christ in prayer to whom he wants to touch with his love through your words and actions. Shine the flashlight on what Christ has done in and through you. Be careful not to shine the light on yourself, but your experiences, to show what it's like to be the light for others. You must be sensitive and respect, and you must have sensitivity and respect for other people and their needs. Don't assume others have no relationship with God. Be interested in other people's experiences of God and share yours. Don't force others on. Don't force yourself on others. Don't judge. It's not your place, or presume you know their needs too quickly. Don't force Christ on another person. Jesus never forced himself on people. He showed respect and acceptance. God is already present in people's lives. Your job is to love people and to share what you have found. God's job is to save them. So what steps can you take to pass on the love of Christ? Make a friend, be a friend, bring friends to Christ. Remember, every person is a unique creation of God. Love and accept people as they are. You can make a friend no matter where you are, school, work, church, or in the community. Extend friendship with people who need it, not just with people who you think deserve it. Don't stop making friends. Don't just act friendly. Really be a friend. Be open-minded and caring. Be there for friends, even new ones, in their time of need, and stand by them. The disciples were friends with Jesus, but denied him when it became too costly. Treat your friends as you would treat Christ. Love is more than giving people the best of yourself. Give them Christ, the source of love and real joy. Introduce your friend to your most important friend, Jesus Christ, through word and action. When I'm in the dark, yes, sometimes in the literal dark, but also when I'm at my lowest and feeling the darkness, I look towards God to bring me back to the light. As I talked about earlier, how God used me, as I was having the conversation with that employee, I kept thinking of one thing. How do I get them? How do I get them to be saved? How do I get them to know God? I needed them to see. I needed them to know that they did that so I could see the fruits of my labor. But I could only feel that I had failed, knowing that I would have to terminate that employee and I'd never talk to them again. But my plan failed, when it was never my plan to start with. God helped me and another person in one move of his plan. In this instance, he helped me to understand that planting the seed was the only part I was to play. Someone else watered the seed and allowed God to save them. You may not know this, but you can't decide to go to Emmaus or the great banquet on your own. You have to be invited. So someone else may tell you about it, but there's another person that may plant that seed so that when you go, God talks to you while you're there. Imagine your relationship as a garden. Where is Christ asking you to plant the seed of faith or to water the ground of love? As Brandon gives us a challenge each week, I challenge you to shake out of your comfort and create light. As Christians, we can shine brightly if we are willing to put our love into action. Prayer and study are your legs to stand on as you speak to others. Grace has energized our love to give. Now we just need to shake out our Christian action so people will have the light to see Christ, who they can become in Christ, and what the world would look like if ruled by God's love. In Christian action, we offer our bodies, our hands and feet to God. Please take a few moments to listen to this song before you start your discussions.
Let's stand. You may be seated. So I don't know how many of you have noticed this, my stop-start sign, and I introduced that at our picnic as well. And I love how well that sign goes with Matt's talk. Because how many times did you hear Matt talking about either himself or somebody else could have stopped really easily and they would have been completely justified. And yet, he kept starting. Other people started. There was a progression. There was a part where everybody had to play it. So just something to consider as we continue our discussions. Thank you, Matt, very much. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and begin.